The lounge on the Celestial Accord space station was full of noise and laughter. Aliens of every shape and color sat at tables made of strange metals and glass. Some had scales. Some had fur. Some had skin that changed color when they talked. Drinks floated in zero-gravity bubbles, and the smell of 100 different foods mixed together in the recycled air dot in the center of the room. A crowd had gathered around a tall creature covered in dark green scales. His name was Vraxthel Karinos, and he was telling stories. Vraxthel was a Selvari, a species known across the galaxy for their hunting skills. He stood almost 8 feet tall, with 4 arms and eyes that glowed yellow in the dim light. Around his neck hung a chain of small bones and teeth, trophies, proof of his kills. And then, Vraxthel said, spreading all 4 arms wide, I tracked the beast for 3 days through the poison swamps of Carrick 7. The air itself could kill you. The water burned like acid. But I found it. I killed it. And I took its skull. The crowd made sounds of amazement. A small furry alien near the front clapped its tiny paws together. A tall, thin creature with blue skin nodded in respect. Vraxthel loved this. He lived for this. The attention, the fear, the respect. But that was nothing, he continued, his voice getting louder. Nothing compared to my greatest hunt. The hunt on Tertia 3. The crowd went silent. Even the bartender, a creature made mostly of floating gas, stopped moving. Tertia 3. Everyone knew about Tertia-3. It was a death world. Not just any death world, but a Class 12, the highest rating. A planet where everything wanted to kill you. The gravity was crushing. The weather was insane. The animals were monsters. And the native species, the primitive creatures that lived there, were said to be the most violent beings in the known galaxy. No civilized species had ever made successful contact with them. They were too dangerous, too savage, too unpredictable. You hunted on Tertia 3? The furry alien whispered. I did, Vraxthel said proudly. I walked on that death planet. I breathed its poisoned air. And I hunted its natives. He reached into a pouch on his belt and pulled out something small and white. A tooth, but not an animal tooth. Everyone could see it was from a sapient being. A thinking creature. They were primitive, Vraxthel said, holding up the tooth. Stone tools. Animal skins for clothing. They lived in caves and mud huts. They were barely more than beasts. He put the tooth away and smiled, showing his own sharp teeth. But they were cunning, fast, strong for their size. Hunting them was the greatest challenge of my life. At the edge of the crowd, a woman sat alone at a small table. She had been there for an hour, drinking something brown from a glass, saying nothing. She was small compared to most of the aliens in the room. Soft skin, no scales, no fur, no natural weapons. She wore a simple gray uniform with a symbol on the shoulder that few recognized. Her name was Yenna Solis, and she was a human. She listened to Vraxthel's story with a strange expression on her face. Not fear, not anger. Something else. Something that would have worried the aliens around her if they had been paying attention. But they were not paying attention to her. They were watching Vraxthel. The natives tried to fight back, of course, Vraxthel said with a laugh. They threw rocks, shot arrows, made their little war cries. But what can primitives do against plasma rifles and energy shields? The crowd laughed with him. They ran, Vraxthel continued. They always ran. Into their forests, their caves, their pathetic hiding places. And I followed. I always followed. I took 12 trophies from Tertia 3. 12 kills. It was the proudest moment of my family's history. He stood tall, all 4 arms crossed over his chest, waiting for the applause. It came. The crowd cheered and clapped and made sounds of approval in a dozen different languages. And then a voice cut through the noise. Small, quiet, but somehow everyone heard it. Did any of them ever chase you instead? The crowd turned. Vraxthel turned. Everyone looked at the small woman at the corner table. Yennesola set down her drink and looked directly at Vraxthel. Her eyes were calm. Too calm. What did you say? Vraxthel asked. I asked if any of the natives ever chased you, Yenna repeated. You talk about hunting them, following them, killing them. But I am curious. Did any of them ever turn around and follow you? Vraxthel laughed. It was a big, loud laugh, but something about it sounded wrong. Forced. Chase me? These were primitives, little creature. They had stone tools. They wore animal skins. When they saw a real hunter, a real predator, they ran away. That is what prey does. Yenna nodded slowly. She stood up from her table and walked toward the crowd. The aliens moved aside for her without knowing why. Stone tools, she said. Animal skins. That is what you saw. That is what they were, Vraxthel said firmly. Yenna stopped a few feet in front of him. She was so small compared to the massive Selvari hunter. The top of her head barely reached his chest. And yet, somehow, the crowd felt like the balance of power in the room had shifted. Tell me, Yenna said, what did your people call this planet? Tertia 3. That is a catalog number. What was its real name? Its native name? Vraxthel waved a hand dismissively. Primitives do not name their planets. They do not even know they live on a planet. They think their little world is everything. Ah, Yenna said. So you never asked them. Why would I ask Prey anything? Yenna smiled. It was a small smile. A patient smile. Several aliens nearby felt suddenly uncomfortable, though they could not explain why. The natives of Tertia 3 do have a name for their planet, Yenna said. They have had many names for it, actually, in many different languages. But the most common name, the one used by the largest number of natives, is a simple word. She paused. Earth. The room went cold. Vraxthel stared at her. His yellow eyes moved down to the symbol on her uniform. A blue circle. Green and brown shapes inside it. Continents. Oceans dot a planet. Earth, Yenna repeated. We call it Earth, and we call ourselves humans. She looked up at the hunter, and her smile grew just a little wider. Did any of us ever chase you, Vraxthel? That is a very interesting question. Why don't we find a quiet place to talk, and I will tell you the answer. The crowd was completely silent. Vraxthel's forehands had started to shake, though he did not seem to notice. Somewhere in the station, a clock chimed midnight, and Yennesolis kept smiling. The crowd in the lounge had not moved. They stood frozen, staring at the small human woman and the massive Selvari hunter. The air itself seemed to have stopped flowing. Vraxthel found his voice first. You are lying, he said. Tertia 3 natives are primitives, savages. They cannot travel between stars. They cannot be here. Yenna tilted her head slightly. And yet, here I am. It is a trick. Some kind of disguise. You are a morphery, or a chameleon breed. Or, I am human, Yenna said simply. Born on Earth, a city called Singapore. I grew up watching ships come and go from our spaceport. Ships that we built ourselves. With technology that we developed after studying the crashed vessels of hunters like you. She let that last word hang in the air. A Draven merchant near the front of the crowd made a choking sound. You reverse-engineered alien technology? From hunter ships? We did, Yenna said. It took us about 200 years. The first ships that came to hunt us were successful, I admit. They took trophies. They killed our people. They left. She paused and looked around the room, meeting the eyes of every alien watching. Then we learned. Vraxthew's hand moved toward the ceremonial blade at his belt. It was a reflex, a hunter's instinct when facing something dangerous. Yenna's eyes tracked the movement, but she did not step back, did not flinch, did not show any fear at all. "That would be a mistake," she said softly. "You threaten me?" Raxthul growled. "I am a Sylvari hunter. I have killed creatures 10 times your size. You are soft, weak. You have no claws, no fangs, no natural armor." "No," Yenna agreed. "We do not. We have other things." "What things?" Yenna's smile returned. "Patience, memory, and a very, very long reach." The furry alien from earlier spoke up, its voice trembling. "How many humans are on this station?" 6, Yenna said. "Including me. Only 6? Raxthul laughed, but the sound was hollow. 6 soft creatures against a station full of warriors and hunters? 6 is enough, Yenna said. "We grew up being hunted, Raxthul. Every human alive today is descended from people who survived your kind, who learned to fight back, who passed down that knowledge to their children and their children's children." She took a step closer to him. Just one step. But Raxthul found himself taking a step backward. "Let me tell you something about humans," Yenna said. "We are not the fastest species. We are not the strongest. We cannot see in the dark like the Keth, or survive in vacuum like the crystalline. We do not have natural weapons. Then how? We do not stop." The words were simple, but the way she said them made several aliens shiver. "When we hunt something," Yenna continued, "we follow it. Not for hours. Not for days. For weeks, months, years. We do not sprint after our prey. We walk, we track, we wait, and eventually our prey gets tired. It stops to rest. It thinks it is safe." She shook her head slowly. "It is never safe. Because we are still coming. We are always still coming." The Draven merchant had gone pale gray, which was the color of fear for his species. "Persistence hunting," he whispered. "I have read about this. I thought it was a myth." "It is not a myth," Yenna said. "It is how our ancestors survived. On a planet where everything was trying to kill us, we became the most dangerous thing of all. Not because we were stronger. Because we never gave up." Raxthul tried to stand taller. "This means nothing. So you can walk for a long time. So what? My people have hunted Deathworlds for 10,000 years. We have weapons, ships, technology." "Yes," Yenna said. "You did. And for a long time, that was enough." "Was? How many Sylvari hunting parties have returned from Earth in the last 50 years? Raxthul opened his mouth to answer, then closed it. His yellow eyes flickered with uncertainty. An older Sylvari at the back of the crowd spoke up. His scales were faded with age, and his voice was rough. "None," he said. "None have returned." The room erupted in whispers. "None?" Someone repeated. "Impossible," another voice said. "Check the records," the old Sylvari said. "Check them yourself." The last successful hunt on Tertia 3 was 73 years ago. Since then, every ship we sent there has vanished. Yenna nodded. "We stopped letting them leave." "You? What?" Raxthul stared at her. "We stopped letting them leave," Yenna repeated. "When a hunting ship enters our atmosphere now, it does not leave. We have defense systems hidden across our planet, underground, underwater, inside mountains. The hunters land, thinking they will find easy prey, and they never leave. But the hunters, some died in their ships. Some died on the ground. Some we captured." Yenna's voice was still calm, still patient. "The ones we captured told us many interesting things. They told us about your Galactic Council, your trade routes, your species and their weaknesses. They told us everything, eventually." "You tortured them," Raxthul accused. Yenna shook her head. No, we simply asked them questions. Humans are very good at asking questions. And we are very good at waiting for answers. She looked around the room again. We have been watching your galaxy for 50 years, learning, preparing, building ships of our own, training soldiers who specialize in hunting things that used to hunt us. Soldiers? The furry alien's voice was a squeak. We call them rangers, Yenna said. They are humans who have been trained since childhood for one purpose: to find the hunters who killed our people, and to bring them to justice. Justice? Raxthol laughed nervously. What justice? Hunting primitives is not a crime. It is tradition. It is sport. It is murder, Yenna said quietly. And we have very long memories. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small device. A datapad. She touched the screen, and a hologram appeared in the air between them. A list. Names. Species. Dates. This is a record of every hunter who has taken a human trophy in the last 300 years, Yenna said. Every name. Every kill. Every trophy that was stolen from us. Vraxthil stared at the list. It seemed to scroll forever. Your name is on this list, Vraxthil Karinos, Yenna said. Not for Earth. You never went to Earth. You lied about that tonight, to impress the crowd. Vraxthil's face went gray. But your father went to Earth, Yenna continued. 70 years ago. He led a hunting party of 12 Selvari. They killed 17 humans before we shot down their ship. My father died on that hunt, Vraxthil said. He never returned. No, Yenna agreed. He never returned. But he did not die in the crash. He survived. We found him in the wreckage. Vraxthil's forehands were shaking badly now. What did you do to him? Yenna turned off the hologram and put the datapad away. We let him go. Vraxthil blinked. What? We asked him questions. He answered them. And then we put him on a shuttle and let him leave. That makes no sense. Why would you let him go? Yenna's smile was different now. Colder. Sharper. Because we wanted him to go home. We wanted him to tell stories about what he saw on Earth. About the humans who captured him. About the questions we asked and the things we showed him. She leaned closer. We wanted your people to be afraid. We wanted them to stop coming. And it worked. Didn't it? Vraxthil said nothing. He could not speak. Your father came home changed, Yenna said. He never hunted again. He refused to talk about Earth. He had nightmares until the day he died. And you never knew why. She straightened up and turned to face the crowd. Now you do. The Galactic Council had requested a formal meeting. Word had spread across the station about the human woman and her revelations. Now, in a large room filled with floating seats and holographic displays, representatives from 30 different species had gathered to hear the truth. Yenna stood in the center of the room, alone, surrounded by aliens who could kill her in 100 different ways. She did not look afraid. Vraxthil sat in the Selvari section, silent and pale. The old Selvari who had spoken earlier sat beside him, his eyes never leaving Yenna. Ambassador Solus, the council speaker said. It was a massive creature made of living crystal, its voice like wind chimes. You claim that humanity has been aware of galactic civilization for 2 centuries. You claim that your people have been secretly defending your world and hunting those who hunted you. These are serious accusations. Do you have proof? I do, Yenna said. She touched her datapad, and the room filled with holograms. Images, videos, data files, recovered equipment. This is the history of humanity's first contact with the galaxy, she said. It is not a happy story. The first image showed a forest. Dense, green, sunlight filtering through leaves. This is the Amazon rainforest, Yenna said. Earth, 1847. The first recorded alien hunting party arrived in this location. They were Keth hunters. 4 of them. They killed 37 humans in a small village before disappearing back into the sky. The image changed. Bodies on the ground. Burn marks from energy weapons. Terror frozen on dead faces. We did not understand what had happened. We blamed it on wild animals, bandits, disease. We made excuses because the truth was impossible to accept. The council watched in silence, but the hunters kept coming. Every few years, another village would be destroyed. Another group of humans would vanish. We started to notice patterns. Strange lights in the sky before the attacks. Wounds that no Earth weapon could make. Bodies that have been altered, studied. She paused to let that sink in. By 1890, some humans had started to believe the truth. They formed secret groups. They watched the skies. They tried to warn people. Most were called crazy, but they kept watching anyway. A new image appeared. A jungle scene. Burned trees. A crashed ship, half buried in mud. This is the turning point. 1892. Amazon rainforest again. A silvery hunting party arrived to hunt humans. 12 hunters. The best of their generation. The old Salvari in the crowd leaned forward. His eyes were wide. But this time, we were ready. A human named Eduardo Vargas had been tracking the previous attacks. He had studied the patterns. He had gathered others like him. Hunters, trackers, soldiers, people who refused to be prey. The hologram showed a group of men in simple clothing, carrying old rifles and machetes. They looked tired, dirty, determined. When the Salvari landed, Vargas and his people were waiting. They did not attack immediately. That is not the human way. Instead, they watched. They learned. They found out how the aliens moved, how they thought, how they hunted. Yena's voice grew quieter. Then they did something no one expected. They started hunting the hunters. The hologram showed the jungle again. This time, from a different angle. Shadows moving through the trees. Human shapes following alien tracks. The Salvari were confused at first. Their prey was not running. It was following them, watching them, always just out of sight, just out of reach. They could feel eyes on them, but when they turned, nothing was there. Vraxthil was gripping the arms of his seat so hard that the metal was bending. They won. The Salvari set traps. The humans found the traps and turned them around. Day 2, a Salvari hunter vanished. His body was found the next morning. He had been killed with his own knife. Murmurs ran through the council chamber. Day 3, Day 4, Day 5. The Salvari tried to retreat to their ship, but Vargas had found the ship first. He had damaged it, disabled it. The hunters were trapped on a Deathworld with no way to escape. The hologram showed a Salvari running through the jungle, panic in his eyes. Behind him, in the shadows, human shapes moved between the trees. The hunt lasted 11 days. 11 days of running, hiding, never sleeping. Every time the Salvari stopped to rest, they heard footsteps. Human footsteps. Coming closer. Always coming closer. Yena looked directly at Vraxthil. Your species evolved as ambush predators. You attack fast, kill fast, and retreat. You are not built for long chases. You tire. You need to stop. To recover. She smiled that cold smile again. Humans do not tire the same way. We can walk for days, weeks. Our bodies are designed to keep moving when other creatures have to stop. We do not chase our prey. We follow it. And we wait for it to collapse. The hologram showed the final scene. A single Salvari, the last survivor, crawling through the mud. Behind him, a group of humans walked calmly. They were not running. They did not need to. Only one Selvari escaped that hunt, Yenna said. He managed to repair his ship's communication system and send a single message before Vargas caught him. She played the audio. A voice, high-pitched with terror, speaking in the Selvari language. Persistence. Persistence. They never stop. They never stop. Persistence. Persistence. The message repeated over and over until it cut off with a scream. The council chamber was completely silent. We recovered this transmission decades later, when we captured another Selvari ship, Yenna said. It helped us understand what we were fighting, and it helped us understand ourselves. She turned to face the entire council. You see, we did not know we were special. We thought all species were like us, patient, stubborn, willing to chase something forever. But we were wrong. Most species in this galaxy are like the Selvari, fast, strong, powerful, but they cannot maintain. They have limits. She shook her head slowly. Humans do not have limits. Not the same kind, anyway. When something hurts us, we do not forget. We do not move on. We remember. And we keep coming. The Draven representative spoke up. How many hunting parties have you dealt with? Since 1892? Yenna checked her datapad. 417 ships, representing 62 different species. Approximately 9,000 hunters in total. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Some we killed. Some we captured. Some we interrogated and released, like Vraxthul's father, so they could spread fear among their people. She put away her datapad, and some we followed. Followed? The crystal speaker asked. When we captured our first working starship, we did not use it to announce ourselves to the galaxy, Yenna said. We used it to hunt. We sent teams to find the hunters who had escaped us. The ones who had taken human trophies and returned home as heroes. Her voice was quiet but hard as steel. We found them, one by one. Year by year. It took decades. Some of those hunters had grown old. They thought they were safe. They had forgotten about the primitive creatures they had killed for sport. She looked around the room. But we had not forgotten. And we came for them. Not for revenge. For justice. For closure. For the families who never knew what happened to their loved ones. Vraxthul finally spoke. His voice was hoarse. How many did you find? Yenna met his eyes. All of them. Eventually, we found all of them. The silence that followed was the loudest sound anyone had ever heard. The council demanded more information. They wanted to understand how humanity had done the impossible. How a species of primitives, trapped on a single Deathworld, had turned into hunters of hunters. Yenna was happy to explain. We created a special force, she said. We call them Rangers. They are humans who have been trained from childhood for one mission, to find and capture those who hunted our people. A hologram appeared showing men and women in dark uniforms. They looked ordinary. No special armor. No obvious weapons. Just humans with calm eyes and patient expressions. Rangers are selected for specific traits, Yenna continued. Not strength or speed. Those things can be trained. We select for patience, memory, the ability to wait for years without losing focus, the willingness to follow a target across the galaxy, no matter how long it takes. The Draven representative leaned forward. How many Rangers are there? I cannot tell you that, Yenna said. But I can tell you this. They are everywhere. On space stations, colony worlds, trade ships. Some have been living among alien species for decades, watching and waiting. The room grew uncomfortable. Aliens looked at each other, wondering if there were humans among them right now. Hidden, disguised, patient. But Rangers are only part of our response, Yenna said. We also built defenses. Earth is no longer an easy target. A new hologram appeared. Earth, seen from space. Blue oceans. Green and brown continents. Beautiful and peaceful. Then the hologram shifted. Red dots appeared across the planet. Hundreds of them. Thousands. Defense platforms, Yenna said. Hidden underground. Underwater. Inside mountains and caves. Connected by a network that covers the entire planet. When an alien ship enters our atmosphere without permission, we know instantly. The dots pulsed with light, showing their connections. The hunters used to land wherever they wanted, Yenna said. They would spend days killing our people, then return to their ships and leave. Now, if an alien ship lands on Earth, it has exactly 12 minutes before every defense platform in the hemisphere targets it. 12 minutes is a long time, a Keth observer said. A skilled hunter could. 12 minutes is how long it takes to make sure any aliens on board have time to surrender. Yenna interrupted. After that, the ship is destroyed. No exceptions. The Keth fell silent. But defenses are not enough, Yenna continued. Defenses only protect Earth. They do not protect humans from those who already hurt us. For that, we needed something more. She touched her datapad. We call it the Reckoning Protocol. A new hologram appeared. A list of names, photos, species, locations. This is a database of every being in the galaxy who has killed a human for sport. Every hunter. Every trophy taker. We have been building this list for 200 years. We have names going back generations. Vraxthiel felt cold when he saw his family name on the list. The Reckoning Protocol is simple, Yenna said. Every name on this list is a target. Every target will be found. Every target will be brought to justice. There is no escape. There is no forgiveness. There is only time. The crystal speaker made a sound like cracking glass. You are describing assassination. Murder. No, Yenna said. We do not murder. We capture. We bring them to Earth. We put them on trial for crimes against humanity. Most of them confess. Most of them are sentenced to life imprisonment. And if they resist capture? Yenna's expression did not change. Then they learn why our ancestors called themselves apex predators. She changed the hologram again. This time, it showed a scene that made several council members look away. A Selvari elder on a distant colony world. Old. Tired. Surrounded by wealth and trophies from a lifetime of hunting. He thought he was safe. He thought his days of danger were over. A human stood in his doorway. Male. Middle-aged, wearing simple clothes. He did not look threatening. He did not look like a warrior, but his eyes were empty of everything except patience. This was Corax Vriel, Yenna said, one of the most famous Selvari hunters of his generation. He led 17 expeditions to Earth between 1920 and 1950. He personally killed at least 40 humans. He took their skulls as trophies. Vraxthiel recognized the name. Corax Vriel had been a legend, a hero. He had died peacefully at home, surrounded by family. Or so everyone thought. This human is Marcus Chun, Yenna said. His grandfather was one of Corax's victims. Marcus spent 32 years tracking Corax across the galaxy. He learned Selvari language. He studied Selvari customs. He waited for the right moment. The hologram showed the conversation between them. The old Selvari confused at first, then terrified as understanding dawned. You took my grandfather's skull, Marcus said in the hologram. His voice was quiet, patient. I have been looking for you for 32 years. Corax tried to reach for a weapon. Marcus was faster. Not stronger. Not more skilled. Just prepared. He had been waiting for this moment for half his life. You hunted my people, Marcus said. Now I have hunted you. The difference is, I will give you a choice. Come with me peacefully, and you will face a fair trial. Resist, and this ends differently. Korax chose to resist. The hologram ended before showing what happened next. But everyone in the room understood. Marcus Chun is still alive, Yenna said. He's one of our most experienced rangers. He has captured 11 hunters in his career. Korax was his last. She looked at Vraxthil. Your father was his fifth. Vraxthil could not breathe. His father, the hero who had returned from Earth broken and silent. The legend who refused to talk about his greatest hunt. The man who had nightmares every night until he died. What did Marcus do to my father? Vraxthil asked. Why? Enna shook her head. Nothing. Marcus found your father, told him he was being watched, and let him go. That was your father's punishment. Punishment? He was free. He lived a full life. Did he? Yenna asked. Did he really live? Or did he spend the rest of his days wondering when we would come for him? Looking over his shoulder, jumping at shadows, never sleeping peacefully again. She stepped closer to Vraxthil. We could have killed him. It would have been easy. But death is quick. Fear lasts forever. Your father spent 50 years being afraid. 50 years knowing that somewhere, somehow, a human was watching him. Waiting. Her voice dropped to a whisper. That is the real punishment. Not death. Not pain. Just the knowledge that we are out there. That we never stop. That we never forgive. That we never forget. Vraxthil finally understood. The humans had not beaten his people through weapons or technology. They had beaten them through terror. Through patience. Through the simple, horrible promise that no matter how far you ran or how long you hid, they would find you. You turned us into prey, he said. No, Yenna said. You were always prey. You just did not know it yet. She turned back to the council. This is humanity's message to the galaxy. We are not primitives. We are not savages. We are not trophies waiting to be claimed. We are the species that looked at a galaxy full of predators and decided to become the thing that predators fear. She smiled. We are the hunters now. And we have a very, very long list. The council said nothing. They had no words left. In the silence, Yenna Solis stood alone. Small and soft and seemingly harmless, surrounded by creatures that could tear her apart in seconds, and every single one of them was afraid of her. 1 week passed. The Celestial Accord Station was buzzing with activity. News of the humans had spread across the galaxy. Some species were terrified. Some were angry. Some were simply confused. How had primitives become hunters? How had prey become predators? The Galactic Council called a full assembly. Every major species sent representatives. Ships crowded the space around the station. Communication channels were filled with arguments and questions and fear. In the great assembly hall, Yenna Solis stood before them all. She was not alone this time. Behind her stood 5 other humans. The 6 of them looked tiny compared to the massive aliens that surrounded them. But no one in the room doubted their power anymore. Thank you for hearing us, Yenna said. Her voice was carried by speakers to every corner of the vast hall. Humanity has waited a long time for this moment. 200 years of silence. 200 years of watching and learning and preparing. Now, finally, we are ready to speak. The crystal speaker raised a limb for attention. Ambassador Solis, the council has many questions, many concerns. Your revelations have disturbed the peace of the galaxy. I understand, Yenna said, and I am sorry for any fear we have caused. That was not our intention. Then what is your intention? A Kath representative demanded. You have described 2 centuries of secret warfare. You have admitted to killing and capturing hunters from dozens of species. What do you want? Revenge? Conquest? Yenna shook her head. No, we want peace. The hall erupted in noise. Disbelief, confusion, anger. Yenna waited patiently for the noise to die down. When it did, she continued. We did not choose this war. Your hunters came to our world. They killed our people. They took our children as trophies. We simply refused to accept it. We refused to die quietly. We refused to be prey. She looked around the room. But we do not want to spend eternity fighting. We do not want revenge on every species that ever hurt us. We want to join the galactic community. We want trade. We want friendship. We want to learn and grow and explore alongside all of you. How can we trust you? The Draven representative asked. You spent 200 years hiding, lying, building weapons in secret. We did what we had to do to survive, Yenna said. Would you have done differently? If strangers came to your world and started killing your families for sport, would you have surrendered? Would you have waited for them to finish? The Draven had no answer. We hid because we were weak, Yenna continued. We lied because we had to. But now we are strong. Strong enough to defend ourselves. Strong enough to choose peace instead of war. The crystal speaker leaned forward. You mentioned conditions. What conditions does humanity require for peace? Yenna nodded. Only one condition. And it is not just for us. It is for everyone. She touched her datapad, and a hologram appeared above the assembly. A simple document. Words written in 100 different languages. The hunting must end. Silence filled the hall. Not just hunting of humans. Hunting of all sapient species. Every Deathworld native. Every primitive culture. Every being that thinks and feels and dreams. The Silvari section of the assembly shifted uncomfortably. This was their entire culture she was attacking. Their history. Their identity. For 10,000 years, your civilization has treated Deathworld natives as animals, Yenna said. You hunted us. You took our bodies as trophies. You laughed at our suffering. And you called yourselves civilized. Her voice grew harder. But who is truly savage? The creatures fighting to survive on hostile worlds? Or the advanced species who travel across the stars to murder them for sport? No one answered. Humanity could have become like you, Yenna said. We could have taken our new technology and used it for conquest. We could have hunted your children the way you hunted ours. We could have filled our halls with alien skulls and called ourselves warriors. She shook her head. But we did not. We are better than that. We refused to become the thing we hated. She looked directly at Vraxthul, who sat alone in the Silvari section. His family had abandoned him after the truth came out. His trophies had been taken. His honor was gone. The hunting ends today, Yenna said. Any species that continues to hunt sapient beings will be treated as an enemy of humanity. We will find your hunters. We will stop them. We will make sure no more children die for your entertainment. And if we refuse? A Keth voice called out. Yenna smiled. It was a sad smile. A tired smile. Then you will learn what we learned 200 years ago. You will learn what it feels like to be hunted by something that never stops. Something that never forgets. Something that will follow you across the galaxy for 100 years if that is what it takes. She spread her hands. But I hope it does not come to that. I hope you can see that we are offering you something better. A chance to change. A chance to be truly civilized. A chance to build a galaxy where every thinking being has value. The hall was silent for a long moment. Then Vraxthul stood up. Every eye turned to him. The disgraced hunter. The son of a monster. The fool who had boasted about killing primitives only to discover one of them standing in front of him. He walked down from the Silvari section. His 4 arms hung at his sides. His head was bowed. He looked broken. He stopped in front of Yenna and knelt. "I am Vraxthil Karinos," he said. His voice was loud enough for everyone to hear. "Son of a hunter. Grandson of hunters. I was raised to believe that Deathworld natives were animals. I was proud of my family's kills. I boasted about them to strangers." He raised his head and looked at Yenna. "I was wrong. I am sorry. I ask humanity for forgiveness, even though I do not deserve it." Yenna studied him for a long moment. Then she reached out and touched his shoulder. "Forgiveness is earned, not given," she said. "But the fact that you are willing to ask for it is a good start." She helped him stand. "Tell your children what you did. Tell them why you stopped. Tell them that the universe is full of thinking beings, and every one of them deserves to live. That is how you earn forgiveness. That is how we all move forward." Vraxthil nodded. There were tears in his yellow eyes. One by one, other representatives stood. Some added their voices to the call for change. Some asked questions. Some remained silent. But no one argued. No one defended the hunting. The vote took 3 hours. In the end, it was unanimous. The hunting of sapient Deathworld natives was banned across the entire Galactic Council. Any species that violated the ban would face sanctions, isolation, and intervention. The age of hunters was overdone as the assembly ended. Yenna found herself standing alone by a window. She looked out at the stars, thinking about everyone who had died to bring them to this moment. The villages destroyed. The families torn apart. The children who never grew up. A voice spoke behind her. "Ambassador?" She turned. Vraxthil was there, looking smaller than before, humbler. "When your rangers caught my father," he said, "what did they tell him? What made him so afraid?" Yenna considered the question for a long time. "They told him the truth," she finally said. "They told him that humans had been watching his people for decades. They told him that we knew every hunter by name, every kill by location, every trophy by face." She turned back to the window. "And they told him that we were patient, that we could wait 100 years for justice if we had to, that his children and his grandchildren would never be safe, because we would always be watching, always waiting, always remembering." She smiled softly. "The worst part, for your father, was not the threat. It was the knowledge that we meant it, that we would really wait forever, that nothing in the universe could make us stop." Vraxthil shivered. "Your people are terrifying," he said. "No," Yenna said. "We are just human. We do not have claws or scales or natural weapons. We are soft. We are fragile. We die easily. But we love fiercely. We grieve deeply. And we remember forever." She looked at him with eyes that had seen too much death and too much pain and too much hope. "That is what makes us dangerous. Not our weapons, not our technology, our love, our grief, our memory." She turned and walked away, leaving Vraxthil alone with the stars. Months later, on a distant Selvari colony, Vraxthil gathered a group of young hunters. They were eager, proud, ready to hear tales of glory and conquest. Instead, he told them about a small human woman who had changed the galaxy with a single question. "Before you hunt anything," he said, "ask yourself this. Ask yourself what you are truly chasing, and ask yourself if it might be chasing you instead." The young hunters did not understand. Not yet, but they would. In time, they would. That was the human way, after all. To plant seeds and wait. To be patient. To trust that eventually, even the most stubborn minds would change. And somewhere in the galaxy, Yenna Solis was still waiting. Still watching. Still remembering. Because that is what humans do. They never stop.